Cage Minds, Mike Frankel. We're at Sandoval Fight Systems. Talk to Robert Skorheim. First off, sir, how you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm enjoying this fight camp. It's been a fun camp. I can eat this time, so that's fun. Every other fight camp, I'm cutting a ton of weight, and at the end, like the last 2 weeks, I just hate them. Like they're terrible, so I have no energy. And then you weigh in, eat up, and then you're feeling great for the fight. And this fight camp, I'm feeling like that the entire time, so it's good.
Colorado Combat Sports Club, number 12. Short notice fight, up a weight class at 170 before we get to all that good stuff. We hadn't done an interview, but I talked to you in passing before FightWorld, MMA 23, and let's be honest, I feel like you've lived up to all the expectations you set for yourself with that performance. Am I wrong there?
Oh, you're not wrong. I mean, like I definitely expected to dominate that fight. Yeah, I mean, my first fight against Evan was really scary. Leading up to the fight, I was in my head all the time about what might happen. My second fight, I knew a couple people who had grappled against the kid or against the guy, and they had told me that like I was on a much higher level from the start, so I wasn't really worried at all that entire fight camp. It was a little bit, I don't know, I had trouble with that fight camp just getting myself like energized for like practices, so that's part of why I took this fight. Is I want hard fights. I want fights that scare me. Like I like that feeling of anxiety before you go into a match. If you win, makes the win like feel so much better when you're really worried before the fight than if you know you're gonna win. So yeah.
I know after the win, after getting it done in the dominant fashion, you told Coach, I want another one. I want a quick turnaround. He made it happen. Why did you feel like you were ready for another one? Why? You had so many more improvements that you still hadn't put to show.
I mean, so after that last fight, I got a ton of people congratulating me. Everybody was telling me like, oh, you did amazing, but really like I didn't feel that great about the fight. I mean, I did great, and it was a ton of fun, but it wasn't like I said, like I like to be really afraid before I fight. I want a real like hard fights. So I didn't feel like that last fight was necessarily a hard fight, and that's part of why I really wanted a quick turnaround. I'm also just really antsy when it comes to competition. Every single time I get out of competition, if I don't have anything coming up, I get in my own head, I get crazy. So signing up for something, whether it's grappling, MMA, striking, whatever, it really just helps me like enjoy just day to day. You know, like when I'm preparing for something, it helps me make healthy decisions for myself. And Freddie, I've been telling Freddie since my first fight that I wanted a quick turnaround. He just, I mean, we couldn't find something for a while. I had a little bit of a mental health collapse between my first fight and my second fight, and now that I'm coming back to it, like I'm really hoping to stay active. I really want to do this fight, and then if my health permits and all that, I really want to fight again soon. I'm thinking August, and yeah, I'm part of why I'm taking this fight is I'm gonna earn a lot of respect when I win. Like it's gonna get me opportunities because I'm fighting a middleweight and I'm a lightweight, so it's a big weight disparity. And I'm really excited for it. I'm really excited to go in there and just throw as hard as I can against somebody. I've always had issues feeling a little bit merciful in my fights where I don't want to hurt the people. I always want to just go in there and win with minimal damage caused and all that. But this time I'm not thinking that because this guy's really dangerous. He's way more dangerous than the other two guys were. This guy's been fighting since 2019, so yeah. And funny thing is, he used to be my size, and then he packed a bunch of chicken, broccoli, and rice on, and gained 30 pounds in about 6 months. And so he has my frame underneath his muscle. So I feel pretty. I mean, he might be a little taller, but I feel pretty confident that it's going to be a war. And I know he likes to start his fights fast, and I like to start my fights fast. That's why all my finishes are within 2 minutes. So I'm excited for that. I'm excited to really push myself. I'm going for a first round finish. Every single fight I'm going for a first round finish. If I don't get a first round finish, I'm going for a second round finish. If I don't get a second round finish, we're fighting to the death in that third round. We are no caution goes to the wind. We are throwing down. I really want to be an entertaining fighter. That's something I really want to be remembered for in my fight career. So yeah, I forgot what the question that you started that off with, but
What gets you most excited about this challenge? About going up, taking on a guy, a bigger weight class, short notice? What you said, there's a fear in this. What gets you feeling that fear the most about this opportunity?
Well, definitely because this guy can punch way harder. He's going to be able to hit harder, just being heavier. He's also more experienced. He's the most experienced guy I'm fighting, or I fought so far. He's a blue belt in jiu-jitsu. I mean, the last guy I fought was a purple belt in jiu-jitsu, but so I'm not necessarily expecting to go out there and get an easy submission or anything like that. I'm expecting to go out there and have a really tough war. You know, I'm planning for a first round decision, or first round knockout, first round submission. But I'm ready to go to a decision either way. It's exciting just knowing that I'm fighting somebody where I can't afford to hold back. I have to throw it all at him.
Is there something nice about the familiarity with camp, with just having went through this process less than a month ago?
Yeah, I mean that's a big part of why I like quick turnaround fights, especially if you go through your fight and you're not taking any damage in it. If you walk out of that cage just like you walked into it, like there's nothing stopping you from just going right back to the gym the next day and getting ready for a fight the next weekend. Really, like as long as you're not hurt coming out of an MMA fight. I think if people want to be MMA fighters, like you got to stay active, you got to keep going, you got to keep pushing, keep getting things on the schedule, because people, I mean, they don't necessarily forget, but like they'll stop thinking about you pretty quick. Like you got to keep reminding them that you're around, and that, especially if you want to make money in the sport. Like if you want to make money from the sport, you really got to treat it like a job and stay active.
Okay, now I gotta call you out on something. You got a silly ass rule, I heard. Something about if you lose, you're gonna quit the sport.
Yeah.
I think that's a bit too high of expectation.
Well, it's not.
I mean, look at Charles Oliveira. Look at Glover Teixeira. There's a lot of people that it's lessons, it's steps, it's path in the journey. If you love this and enjoy this, I kind of think you got a silly rule you put out there.
It is kind of a silly rule, I'm gonna admit. It really comes down to the fact that growing up, my older brother, he has a PhD in neuroscience, and he always made fun of me for doing sports that could affect your brain, concussions and stuff. So I've always been really afraid of concussions. I also went to college, and I don't necessarily see me in my 30s still fighting. It's kind of it's always been a bucket list thing. It's never really, it would be really cool to get to the point where I'm pro and I'm making money. And that rule that I've set for myself is really mostly for my amateur career. I said for this fight I'm suspending it because really when it comes down to it, when I'm fighting somebody my size, I think there's no reason why I should lose ever. I've been working at this since I was 13, and I really feel like I have the ability to compete up with those guys who are in the UFC and who are in those professional organizations. But at the same time, I realize the sport's super dangerous, and you can easily, within 2-3 years, completely change who you are just because you got concussed one too many times. I had some friends in high school who got slammed on their head in wrestling, and they kept just trying to push through it, just trying to be the tough guy, and you'd see them just blank out for certain periods of time where they would be in a zone and nobody could talk to them until you tapped on their shoulder or something and snap them out of it. So I don't necessarily see myself going my entire professional career as a fighter. I don't necessarily see myself going into my 30s as a fighter. That's kind of why I set that rule. Again, for this fight, I'm suspending that. If I lose this fight, I'm still gonna fight again. Not sure when. It might be a year, it might be 3 months, it might be a month. I don't know, but it really is kind of a rule that I set to limit how long I fight for, because I don't want to be somebody who's fighting. I don't want to feel like I'm obliged to get into a cage to take that risk of on my health just to pay my bills. I really want to have a good career in something that I went to school for, and that's kind of where that rule came from. Really, it also makes it really exciting when I'm getting into the cage. I think MMA, it's a lot of people treat it like a fight to the death, but some people treat it, you know, I mean, they treat it like a sport, and they're just trying to go in there and get decisions. But I don't think that's entertaining. I like it when people go in there to fight to the death, and like that thought, and that having that thought of I might never step into this cage again if I don't win this fight. It really ups the intensity of how hard I'm willing to push. I don't even know. I mean, I might lose and then be like, I still want to fight. And if that happens, that happens. But that's not necessarily what I think would happen. If I lost at 55, I don't think I'm going to lose at 55 in my amateur career. I really don't. But if it were to happen, I'd want myself to you know, get into a good profession. I mean, I'm not necessarily saying fighting isn't a good profession. I mean, there's a lot of people that it's amazing for, and they definitely should do it. But for me, I don't necessarily think it's something I want to do for, you know, forever. I actually really admire Khabib for retiring at the age he retired at, because, like I said, I think there's two ways of looking at MMA. You can look at it like it's just something where you get decisions, or it's something where, you know, you go in there to life or death.
So going out there to have fun, it looks like next
That's fun too. Yeah, like really when you go down to it. I'm an adrenaline junkie. That's why I'm doing this, you know? Like it gets the adrenaline rolling. So,
Thanks for the time, sir.
Thank you.